There are 12 brand new hypercharges coming to Brawl Stars in this update, and today I'm going to be testing them all out against this obese robot to find out which ones are the deadliest and which ones are just disappointing. Kinda like I was to my dad. I'm also going to place them in a tier list as we go along, starting with Buster. Now, as you can tell, he doesn't benefit at all from this hypercharge other than the slight damage boost. But just because he doesn't deal more damage doesn't mean that his hypercharge is useless. When activated, his super protects him from every angle, and the reflected projectiles deal 10% more damage to whoever shot them. Now, I can see this being very useful in a team setting where Buster is pretty much just a walking death ball. Imagine your entire team stacking up inside the shield while you're laying down fire and you're just untouchable. Unless there's a dynamite. And while that's scary, in this test, it takes him forever to take down the robot. And because of that, he clocks in at over a minute. So it's no surprise that Buster is in last place against our other brawlers. However, in a game, I think this is going to be extremely useful for a team. A tier. Now, our next brawler on the list is Grom. His hypercharge turns his super into a double super. First the usual plus shape, and then that's followed by an X shape. Pair that with the damage boost from this hypercharge, and if you get hit by it, you're taking nearly 8,000 damage. This will no doubt be one of the deadliest hypercharges in the game. That is, if you hit it. However, these tests against this tanky robot require sustained DPS, and Grom's crazy burst damage isn't as useful here as it will be in a real game scenario. Now, he comes in second to last, taking just over 30 seconds, but don't think for a second that it's because of a weak hypercharge. So while Grom may be second last in time, I'm placing him second highest on my tier list. It's an easy A tier hypercharge. Now, next up on our list is B, and her hypercharge is kind of a strange one. Her super projectiles split into two when they reach max distance or they hit a brawler, which makes them cover a lot of ground. However, here, it doesn't really help her damage at all, as you can see in our test against this bot. But the coverage she has with her super could definitely turn the tide of a game with the potential to slow an entire enemy team. B comes in at 10th place with a time of just under 28 seconds. But for her hypercharge, I'm still going to give her a B because B, it's B tier for B, because it really wouldn't make sense any other way. However, Mr. P is about to become the most annoying brawler ever in this next update because his porter can now spawn 2 hypercharged penguins simultaneously, and they are literally impossible to escape. Seriously, there is nowhere to run once these little guys get going. Now, Mr. P takes 23 seconds to take down the big robot if you play by the rules, but now that there's infinite gadgets, infinite penguins. Now, while that won't be possible in a real game, that is what it's going to feel like to play against a hypercharged Mr. P. He is easily going to be the most annoying brawler in the game if he wasn't already. And I'll call it right here and now, this is an S tier hypercharge. Lola is the next brawler in our test against the big bot here. And unfortunately, her hypercharge is just straight up disappointing. With her hypercharge, her ego becomes huge, which also makes it easier to take down, which is not a good thing. And in return, it gets 1,000 extra health and a slight damage boost. Not only is this hypercharge super just kind of weak, but also it's just kind of boring. In fact, it's so weak that I tested out how long it would take Lola to destroy the bot without her hypercharge versus with it. And there's only a 4-second difference. So yeah, not much more explanation needed. That's an F tier. And if you thought that was disappointing, well, I've got some more bad news for you because Carl's hypercharge, it really isn't that much better. While spinning in hyper form, he leaves a trail of fire along his path, which deal a whopping 1,200 total extra damage to any enemy that touches it. Sure, it's gonna be easier for him to confirm some kills, but when you go in with Carl, you're already picking a fight that you know that you're going to be able to win. Now, he does manage to take down the big robot in 17.27 seconds, but again, I can't help but feel that this is kind of a pretty boring hypercharge. And as crazy as it is, I kind of wish his hypercharge was the mutation one, where he was just like Speed Racer over the map. That would have been interesting. Stu can do it, why not Carl? The extra hyperspeed will be deadly though, and just for that, I'm placing Carl's purple button in the C tier. Now we're halfway through with the list with 6 brawlers remaining, but there are actually 2 brawlers with times between Lola and Carl that I haven't mentioned yet. Now Meg is the first one, with her hypercharge turning her normal swipe into a huge swipe. This one is definitely going to catch some people off guard, as the range on it is just straight up ridiculous. Not only that, but if you use your hyper in baby form and you hop into your mech, you'll jump in with a 3,000 hit point health shield. It takes her 18 seconds to take down the big bot, which places her behind Carl, but I do believe her hypercharge is slightly better than his, so B tier for Meg as well. The other brawler squeezing in between Carl and Meg is Bo. And yes, like you heard in the Brawl Talk, Bo can now have 8 active mines out on the field at the same time. 5 from his hypercharge and 3 of his regular, as if it wasn't hard enough already to find the first 3. Bo's mines are my kryptonite, and I can already see my death in the future. You're definitely going to be screwed if you find yourself in the middle of this minefield, just like the robot was, going down after 17.31 seconds of brutal explosions. It's a high B tier for Bo. Now, if you've been paying attention, you'll notice that it's only 40 milliseconds behind Carl, which is ridiculously close, but there is a brawler that has an even closer time to Carl, and that's Chester. For Chester's hypercharge, it combines 3 of his supers into one. First off, his explosion, and then the poison, but in a spray like Emz's hypercharge, and then finally the area denying slow. Now another thing about this hypercharge is that his explosion doesn't knock back enemies, meaning that they're sure to be hit by the spray as well as be stuck in the slow. That is, if you land it properly. Although, depending on the situation, the lack of a knockback could work against you, but that's just how it is. Now, coming in at only 30 milliseconds in front of Carl, Chester takes down the big bot in 17.24 seconds. And that is incredibly close. However, Chester's hypercharge goes into the B tier instead of the C tier like Carl. So now we're on to the top 3 deadliest hypercharges, and Sam is the man who cracks in at number 3. If he hits someone with his super while in his hypercharge, he will instantly recharge his super again. That means that if you hit someone, you can instantly call your super back to you, getting that healing, speed, and more damage. This looks absolutely insane against the bot, almost like Carl's pickaxe against the wall, but it's Sam spamming his super instead. It takes him just over 16 seconds to take down this bot, and I have no doubt that a good Sam player, yes, they do exist, can turn this purple button into a weapon of mass destruction. It's an A tier for Sam. And then there were 2, only Hank and Mandy left, and unfortunately for Mandy, she does not win this race. I mean, this is the closest she'll ever come to winning a race though, unless she stops standing still all the time. But for her hypercharge, she just shoots out 3 sugar rays instead of 1. It's basically identical to her mutation back during the Godzilla event. And with it up close, she absolutely melts the robot, just chaining super after super after super. And this one is going to be terrifying in the game, because now instead of having to dodge 1 stray shot, you're going to have to dodge 3. So 8 bow mines, 3 sugar rays. Yeah, this is going to be fun. Mandy's candy, B tier. And so you've probably guessed it by now. Our deadliest brawler ever is, drumroll please, Spin LC. Oh wait, no, it's actually Hank. Not only does his milk shoot out stronger than ever, but it also has a mind of its own, as it now homes in on enemies, like even around walls in every which way. And it doesn't stop until it's destroyed everything in its path. Or it hits a wall. Either way, these homing projectiles are extremely threatening if you don't have any cover near you, and it's a surprise to, well, nobody that he completely destroys this bot if he stands inside of him and spams his super. It takes just 2 seconds and some change, and the bot is beat. As for those homing missiles on the tier list, I gotta place it in a high B tier. So do you agree with my list? What do you think that they could have done better for Lola's hypercharge? Let me know in the comments down below. I'd like to hear your thoughts, and stay tuned for more sneak peeks coming very soon. You probably ought to subscribe just so you don't miss it. I'm just saying.